Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. How is everybody doing today? I trust everybody is in good spirits, good mood, everything that needs to be said. Anyhow, we're back in the studio because downstairs is just too darn hot. So we're back in the studio blasting both of these things upstairs until we can get the bottom fixed. You know how that goes. Well. Folks, we have a great show for you today. Welcome aboard. Robert Davenport says, greetings to progressives. Eric Hayes is in the house. Paul Fleming from Atlanta, Georgia is in the house. Robert Fleming from California is in the house. Maywood from California is in the house. E2247 from I Forget is in the house. Let's see. Eric Hayes from Kingwood is in the house, Texas. Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain is in the house. I'm testing my memory. Bruce Pollard from Kingwood, Texas is in the house. Bridge MCP from New York is in the house. Julie Henderson from, I don't remember where, is in the house. And Lee Grant from Texas is in the house. Alistair Waters from Conroe, Texas is in the house. And AVQ, our brother up in New York, is in the house. I think I got most of the locales correct. Where I failed, please correct me. How are my peeps doing? Eric Hayes says, Egberto, you need your bottom to be fixed. I need my bottom to be fixed? I don't know what that means. Lee Grant says, Egypt, Texas. All right, Lee. You know, Lee, I have an admission. Where is Egypt? Let's say, compared to, let's say, Paris, Texas, or Dallas, Texas, or Austin, Texas. I don't remember where Egypt, Texas is. Anyway, I see your up story 1 cent a K per to $44 per hour, like 92K salary. Okay. 25 medical. Oh, that's a complicated one, Eric Hayes. Julie Henderson says, Julie from Progressive, Massachusetts. There you go, my girl. And Lee Grant says Magnolia area. Oh, so you're in the Magnolia area. We're going to have that coffee when we bring all the folks to a coffee shop in this area again. Who else is in the house? Let's see. Bridge MCP says, Lee, I thought you meant because of the heat. That's probably what he meant. Egypt by Magnolia. He probably means the heat. I think you're right about that, Bridge MCP. All right. What else have we got here? Occupied territory of Bodewami, Hochonke. He always does this to me. Whatever the case is, we love you, E2247, even though you give me a language I'm not aware of. I only speak two. English, Spanish, understand a little bit of Portuguese. If I hear the keywords in French and Italian, I can kind of pick it up. But you know where I really am. Okay. Let's see what else we got here. Anybody wants to see? Para ver. Eric says, find the comical since Tatum has been here. Find this comical since Tatum has been here. The process has been inefficient and unstable due to his incompetent management of the elections in Harris County and Washington, where he has gross negligence history with elections. Harris County and Elections Administrator Clifford Tatum also claimed that transferring employees and resources just 6 weeks before voting opens for November 2023 elections will lead to inefficiencies, office instability. I agree with that. Trying to make change, whatever the case is. We don't need the state of Texas to be controlling our local elections. All right. Bruce says, next time if you pick me up, I will buy the coffee and a snack. Well, Definitely so. You just tell me when, hey, I didn't, you know what I didn't think of, Bruce? When we did the program at Black Hole, I should have come. No, well, that would have been too early. 'Cause that was 4:30 in the morning to get out there to the Black Hole when we do the show from a coffee shop or whatever. Anyway, we're going to be doing we're going to move in the show to different places, and other folks are probably going to have me guest on their show when we do the mobile movement. Michael Rundin says Egypt, Texas is in Wharton County. Oh, so it is real. Wharton County is close to where I am at, northwest of where I'm at, actually. Or maybe west, because I'm pretty north as well. All right, anyhow, folks, let's continue with the program. Let's see what else we got here. Anyhow, I got a good program for you today. I want to start with Joe Biden. And the reason why I want to start with Joe Biden is because finally, I think he found a way of expressing his success in a quick way. One of the things that Republicans know how to do is they in a short amount of time, with a limited amount of words, they can lie to you and tell you all the things that they've done. Trump would say, I had the best economy that a president has ever had. Business was the best under my administration. The truth of the matter is, business was better under Obama. Business was better under Carter. I mean, in Carter in a lot of respects. Business was better under most other presidents. But Donald Trump took the mantra. And the reason why, he's a salesman. He knows how to sell. He knows how to lie. Now, under Biden, Biden has exceeded Obama. Biden has exceeded all these other presidents with his success with the Inflation Reduction Act, with the infrastructure bill, and all these things, right? This guy has gotten a lot done with limited credit relative to what he has done. Now, Obama did, with Obama starting to put healthcare into the healthcare is a right domain, and not fully completed, not near fully completed. He did a lot. But Biden, with the policies, policies that even progressives are like, huh? Okay, we didn't expect that out of you. In fact, it helps so many different people around the country. I want you to notice in this particular speech, he didn't quite outright say it, but today at the White House, today is the inauguration of, or I should say the anniversary of the Inflation Reduction Act. Now, here's the deal. The Inflation Reduction Act reduces inflation for real, kinda, but what it does is it makes things available. But not only that, right? Under the Inflation Reduction Act, we get all these policies for green energy, for creating the infrastructure for a lot more employment. All these things occurred under his watch, a direct result of this Inflation Reduction Act, and specifically, even red state governors and red state politicians are touting it. Whenever something opens, a manufacturing facility opens, a new street getting built, a new bridge getting built, it is, hey, check it out. Look at what your congressperson has done for you. Not telling them we voted against this. So they're getting all the benefits as they vote against it, as they vote against Biden. Biden made a very important point. He said, notice inflation is coming down. And in effect, he has pointed out something that we've been saying on Politics Done Right, that Katie Porter has been saying for a while. Most of this inflation was corporate greed. But he didn't say corporate greed. The president didn't say corporate greed. What the president said is, why is inflation coming down? Because profits are coming back to earth. In other words, because they're no longer picking your pocket as much as they were before. The corporations. He said it without being as graphic as I just was, in saying, listen, these evil corporations are thieves and they're picking your pockets. But he said it anyway. I want you to listen to Biden, and then I want to listen close to the end when he talks about what Democrats have told him about red states. This is important. So let's go ahead, listen to this, and then we'll take it on the other side.
Where is it written that America can't create the most vibrant and innovative economy and be the world's leading manufacturer again? Where's that written? I didn't see that anywhere. We created more jobs in 2 years than any administration has in a single 4-year term. Proud that unemployment has been below 4% for the longest stretch in over 50 years. We now have more jobs than we did before the pandemic. And workers aren't just finding more jobs, they're finding better jobs, higher pay, higher job satisfaction. And unemployment is down, and so is inflation. Remember what the experts told us, okay? And they're traditional economists, very smart women and men. They told us getting inflation under control, in order to do, we had to lower wages and increase unemployment. Not a joke. Had to lower wages and increase unemployment. But we never thought the problem was too many people. At least I didn't. Too many people that were working, or the working people were making too much money. I thought that was not the best answer to how to get it down. Now, one reason we've seen inflation fall by 2/3 without losing jobs is corporate profits are coming back down to earth. The excesses are being eliminated by the corporations. We have more to do, but inflation is now the lowest point it's been in 2 years. When the Inflation Reduction Act was passed a year ago today, inflation was, as it pointed out by Chuck or Nancy, I can't remember which one, 8.3%. It's now down to 3.2%. The lowest among, it's going to go lower. But here's the point, it's lowest among the world's leading economies. Take every major economy in the world, we have the lowest inflation rate. At the same time, wages are growing faster than inflation. This matters. The way I think about inflation is the way my dad used to talk about it around the kitchen table. He'd ask, how much is left after all the monthly bills are paid? How much do you have left over after you pay them all? And is there, at the end of the month, just have a little bit of breathing room? Just a little bit of breathing room. That's one of the reasons why we've worked so hard dealing with farm and other things. Not only to get the overall cost of average people with the monthly bills down, in addition to inflation. The Inflation Reduction Act is giving people more breathing room, as my dad would say, and it's supercharging the economic transition in key ways. First, it's taking the most aggressive action ever on climate energy, ever. I've long said, and that's why I think all the unions have come along. I've long said, when I think climate, not a joke, I think jobs. I think jobs. None of this would have happened had the unions not stepped up and supported us. This law is one of the biggest drivers of jobs and economic growth this country has ever seen. Since I took office, the private sector has announced nearly $240 billion in new clean energy manufacturing investments. That private sector, $240 billion invested. And the law has already created an estimated 170,000 clean energy jobs. In 1 year, it's estimated that that will grow to 1.5 million more jobs over the next decade. First is 1 year, now we're talking about the decade. You know, just don't take it from me. The CEO of U.S. Steel called the Inflation Reduction Act manufacturing, he called it the Manufacturing Renaissance Act, because it's bringing jobs back to America, manufacturing here in America, made in America. According to leading Wall Street firms, Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs, our broader investment in investing in America agenda is unleashing a boom of manufacturing investments. And we're leaving nobody behind. We're investing in all of America, in the heartland and coast to coast. You know, I saw a few of my Democratic friends not in Congress, but friends said, look, you're investing more in red states than in blue states. Well, I made a commitment. This is about all of America. We've seen progress across the country from Maine to South Carolina to Minnesota to New Mexico. The Vice President and I and the Cabinet have seen progress across the country.
Exactly. And notice what he said. Democrats are saying you invested more in red states than blue states. That's not the issue really, right? Because the red states are in more dire straits than the blue states were ever in. We know that the red states are bigger states. The red states they collect more money than they put into the federal government. They ask for more money because they are more dependent. They are more dependent on blue states. That's just a statement of fact. So therefore, when all this money to make things better for the average American comes out, where do you think a lot of that money has to go? Back to the red states. So the Democrats who looked at the president and said, hey, more of your money is going to red states than blue states, the president probably said, I know, but they need help more so than the others. That's just a statement of fact. But that's not the issue. The issue is that he showed in this one piece comprehensively. And by the way, let me back out of that a minute. We want all Americans to do well. That's the thing when it comes to progressives. We want all Americans to do well. We're not segmenting Americans on who should be successful and who shouldn't be. And that is what the IRA proved, in as much as no Republican of consequence voted for that bill. So for all of you that are supporting all these red state politicians, realize that if you continue to support them, all you're doing is making your states worse off than it is right this minute. Joe Biden gave I kind of cut that speech, but it's an important piece of the speech that I think most Americans needed to hear. Anyhow, let me go ahead and see what else you guys are talking about here. Para ver, ¿dónde está lo demás? Where are the rest? We have Lee Grant says, oh no, let's see what we got here. Alistair Waters is in the house. Hello, beautiful Alistair. She says, E2247 is speaking Potawatomi, indigenous people from my old neck of the woods. I didn't know you had an indigenous streak, my dear Alistair. Let's see what else we got here. Para ver. We also have a federal court found Governor DeSantis 2022 suspending Tampa's elected prosecutor violated Constitution. He's doing essentially the same thing again with state attorney. Yep, he did. He actually released her already. But again, these guys are fascists, and we know that they're fascists. Eric says, Lee Grant, please tell Conroe to keep their water and not flood Lake Houston in the upcoming hurricanes. Well, rich people win, man. Anyway, Julie Henderson says, Katie Porter must use the Republicans withholding water from infants, toddlers, children, athletes, workers, elders, put the responsibility where it originates. And she did a good piece. I saw it on TikTok, I believe, where she really let them have it in the committee meetings. Let's see what else we have here. Eric says, Joe is a joke and full of word salad. Oh, well, I mean, you can call it word salad. Please tell me what part of that word salad is incorrect, Mr. Hayes. You see, you just shoot things off that you hear on your misinformed channels, right? But you couldn't name me one thing that he said there that was incorrect. Everything that he said was correct. Michael Rudden says Trump's economy was riding Obama's coattail for the first 3 years, then the pandemic crashed everything. Of course. Eric K says, what are you smoking today? Or maybe you have been in the heat for too long? Not really. I just spoke facts. Robert Davenport says, if you are watching, hit that thumbs up. Thank you, Robert, for telling folks that. If you are watching on YouTube, hit the thumbs up. If you are watching on Facebook, go ahead and give us that like. We need that to keep these things flowing. Julie Henderson says, used car salesman is more trustworthy than temper tantrum Trump. I agree with you, beautiful. Eric Hayes says, yep, my groceries and electricity and insurance and everything has gone up. Not because of Bidenomics, because of fraudulent capitalists. That's all. All right, let's see. Bridge MCP says, Dumpy Trump has on one hell of a schedule coming up. Hey, yes, he does. If we throw him in court, that is a confounded thug. All right, let's see. Julie Henderson says, first 2 years of a presidency is results of last 2 years of previous president. All right. Eric Hayes refuses to listen. Eric Hayes is, well, I won't say that I need to remain nice because he's my friend and I genuinely do love my brother. All right. Let's see what else we can say. Can't give medicine to the dead, Michael. Why bother? That's a good way of putting it. Julie Henderson says manufacturing must return within the USA. Question is, will it be AI bots? The answer, Julie, is both. Yes. A lot of it's going to be AI bots. A lot of it is going to be robots. I think that's what you meant by AI. A lot of it. Look, let me tell you, I use AI now, right? I think I told some of you this. I do a lot of blogs every day. I do probably 5, 20 blogs a day. And I write it all from scratch, even though there are things that that I could, that I have to go back into my into the transcript of things that I've spoken to in videos, and I have to retranscribe it and all of that. It takes a lot of time. And then I have to go look it up, find my corroborating information at other places. Well, I just started subscribing to a tool that absorbs my videos, convert the videos into words, and go ahead and create the short narrative of the video, corroborating it with real information, right? In other words, validating that information and spitting me out something, and then I can go ahead and write this stuff up rather quickly. So instead of being able to do, let's say, 2, 3, 4 blogs a day, I can probably do 10, 12 blogs a day and continue to put our message out there, right? Because I'm only one person and I can't afford to hire anybody else at this point in time. So AI is a good thing, but here's a kicker, and I'm preaching this. I spoke to this with Maurice Mitchell, who is the director of the Working Families Party. We sat down and talked before we did the interview, and it's like, we don't need to have the working people scared of AI. We have to get the working people out there voting their interests. And voting their interests, taking up on what I think it was Julie Henderson talked about, the AI bots, is that if a lot of this stuff is going to return as AI bots, or even like I said, if I wanted to put out that number of blogs, I would have to hire somebody to do some additional work. I can't afford that, so I do it. But that also means that there's a possibility that that person that could have had a job won't have a job because of AI. What it means is we have to change the model. We got to change the model from a 40-hour work week. We got to keep the salaries exactly the same or higher at the same time that we get the efficiency from AI, which means reduce the hours of the worker. What does that further mean? It means that mothers and fathers can have more time with their kids. And what does that mean? It means if they have more times with their kids, we need less police officers. We need less disciplinarians, because now kids are nurtured like they were before. People talk about how kids are really misbehaving now and they're committing more crimes, etc., because they're not supervised. Weren't they supervised? Everybody got to work. Well, now if we have efficiencies, and we transfer those efficiencies to society at large who develop those efficiencies, as opposed to leaving it all to the wealthy people who took our knowledge, we created the efficiency, and then they lay us off. It ain't gonna work that way. Like I told Maurice Mitchell, what we have to do as supporter of the working class is we have to make them know that they are already empowered to change the laws to make sure that the spoils from AI doesn't go to a few, but goes to us all. And that's what it's all about. I hope that made sense. If it doesn't, hit me up and we'll continue. Michael Rodden says, I don't want a country where people just have a little bit of breathing room. I want a country where people have enough to live decent lives. Henceforth, AI and what I just talked about, the 20-hour work week. Davenport says, the truth shall set you free. Tell them the facts, President Biden. It sings louder than all the Republican clown lies altogether. True. Let's see what else we got. Alistair says, Melanie Keelan, they are there. Northern Indiana, Northern Illinois, may be elsewhere, but I don't know for sure. I think you're talking about the indigenous people. Let's see what else we got here. Para ver. Lee Grant says, red states are smarter. They get fed dollars. That doesn't mean smart. That just means you're on the dole. You're more so on the dole. Okay. Julie Henderson says, corporations price gouging pays investors with both right congressional laws tailored to them. Historic. Prosecute them theft from 20% taxpayers. Exactly. That's what we need to do. Michael Ronan says, remind me, how much is Biden pushing in green energy and infrastructure investment? The minimum required to forestall global warming is 4.5 trillion before 2030. We're running out of time. Joe Biden isn't doing nearly enough. The path we are on gets over 1.5 degrees Celsius global warming by 2027, and the climate change gets drastically worse once we pass that turning point. He's not doing enough, I agree, but we have to mitigate that in the elections. In other words, when he gets reelected, we have to take over the Congress to push those policies and force him to sign it. All right, let's see. Michael Renner says, Paul, the compromise on me would be enough that I'd lose the election. Oh, that's funny. Melanie Keelan says, have you ever visited the Davis Mountains? Davis, I think that is in California, right? Let's see. Why would they vote for more taxes on society as to pay for the overspending will take? No. That's not what it is. You don't. When you talk about taxes in red states, right? They cut taxes in red states for rich people, which means they can't support their poor people and needy people in those states, and then they make the blue states pay for them. So no, that overspending come from you guys not taxing the right people appropriately. So you reap what you sow, sir. All right, Tegberto Willie's E2247 language. The English Potawatomi is derived from the Ojibwe Broodwani. Whoa, boy, you guys really complicated me today. Thank you for putting that out. Guys, you read what Bridge MCP just wrote down there because it's important. And you know, I love my people. All of you do the research to keep us more aware of what's going on. I better read it because it said the Potawatomi name for themselves is a Bodewadmi without syncope, plural Bodewadmik, a cognate of the Ojibwe form. Their name means those who tend the hearth fire, which refers to the hearth of the Council of Three Fires. Native American people of the Great Plains under Mississippi River and Western Great Lakes region. They traditionally speak the Potawatomi language. Potawatomi. Okay, I got it now. Julie Henderson says, Lee Grant, many red states refused federal funds to torture their citizens and blame Democrats in their pain. Wait, let's correct that. They take the funds that they want that helps their corpse, etc., but things that help human beings, like the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act, it shows the evil within that they do that. It shows the evil within. So you're correct about pointing that out, Julie Henderson. Michael Rudnan says, greedflation, corporations overcharging because of the perception of inflation, is the primary cause of increased prices of all your basic necessities. And that has, that has been proven by Katie Porter. Lee Grant says, Julia Henderson, as a good Republican, I do not torture citizens and give water freely to infants and children. And that's why you're here. You're a good Republican. Not only are you a good Republican, you support free speech. You support politics done right. And you are here every day with your thoughts. Respect. Respect it, sir. Paul Fleming said, I use AI to help write music. There you go. Eric Hayes says, manufacturing is leaving China and going to Asia and Mexico. Look at Apple and Dell and HP, for example. So with population loss and manufacturing loss, China will be poorer in due time. Don't count on the demise of China. China is doing a lot of what America did in its imperial time. We are still imperial, but in a more imperial time. And that is they're multiplying themselves throughout Africa, throughout Asia, throughout Mexico. So even as you see that, oh, we're manufacturing in Mexico, look under the hood. You're likely to find a Chinese-backed capitalist country. That's all I got to say. I mean, capitalist company. All right. Let's see. Michael Ryan says, when manufacturing returns to the United States, high-paying manufacturing jobs will not return alongside. Most manufacturing jobs have been fully automated. We need to start discussing universal dividends from automation now as the future we are on. That's what we talk about. That's what I was talking about, keeping salaries the same, Michael. Whether the people thrive or starve will be determined largely by who owns the machine. Again, I don't care who owns the machine, because the technology is what created the machines, right? The intellect is what created the machines. You want to own the machine. What we are going to make sure is that society will be taken care of at large. All right, Daniel Ado says, it is quite clear these Trump indictments are all about keeping him from being elected. Really? I am not a Trump sycophant, but this third world crap the leftists are pushing ashore, I will absolutely vote for Trump, even if you make him a political prisoner. Well, I mean, that's your choice. I mean, if you want, and that's what a lot of people are voting for Trump to stick it to the libs, right? They want to stick it to the libs. So Trump is going to screw you, right? If you were to get elected, but because you will be sticking it to the libs, you're going to do it anyway. And then you elect him, he screws you, and then you cry. the thought process I just don't get. But that's why progressives that are listening to this, smart thinking Republicans that are listening to this, you guys know what you got to do in 2024. Bridge MCP says, right now I could use an AI as my webcam PC crash. More than likely the fan from the cooling CPU. I hear you, girl. Let's see what else we got here. Macaroni is replying. That's a reply. Let's continue scrolling. Macaroni says, minds will change as the reading of the evidence during the trials is made public. I hope. Minds will change after Trump is convicted of the charges brought against him. I hope. Minds will change after Trump is sentenced to prison military detention. I wish. A core seventh of the American public will remain unswayed by proof. That's true. Eric A. says, rule of law is out the door for sure. Shut down opposition by arresting them. Wow, how enlightening. Julia Hender says, will AI bots increase mandate federal subsidies, minimum income, food, health? Yes, that's what we want. Basic income. I am in for basic income. I interviewed a lot of test cases, right? At Netroots, we had different companies that were doing test cases of basic income to see if people receive a basic income, would they turn into lousy couch dwellers? No. It turned out that a basic income gave people the ability to want more. It gave them a cushion that allowed them to strive for more. And it worked. The experiment worked. I check out my interviews. I can't remember the name of the companies right now, but check out the interviews. I interviewed them. All right, Michael says, Egberto, I'm not kidding about the compromise on me. My opposition research would find a whole bunch of embarrassing stuff that I wouldn't want to make public, which would make any win impossible. Actually, though, I disagree with you completely, Michael. Donald Trump has made it that even the scourge of the earth could win an election in the United States of America. So I don't think you would have done anything worse than Donald Trump. So if you run, you got my vote. Let's see what else we got here. McDonald Observatory is an astronomical observatory located near on Fort Davis in Jeff Davis County. Yeah, I know. Actually, my daughter went to the observatory. I've never been to the observatory, but I think it's in Big Bend, right? Somewhere around there, if I recall correctly. All right, let's see what else we got. From Bridge MCP. Fossil fuel industry gets $6 trillion in free stuff every year. That's true. That is so true, so true, so true. The observatory is part of the University of Texas, my university, yes. And that's why she went as a tour with the university. Lee Grant, because both of us went to the same university. Lee Grant says, we seem to be in a post-constitutional, post-law, and post-truth era. Reminds me of the Twilight Zone. No, we're in a truth era. Come on, I want to tell the truth, Lee Grant. That's why you support me, right? I think so. I think so. Robert Davenport says, Daniel Ado, it's quite clear you have not read the indictments. Do yourself a favor. I haven't read the indictments either because I have trusted sources that I believe in, and I don't really have the time to go through the 90-something page of the indictment for Georgia, or the 45-page one I think the one for 45 pages DC. I just don't have the time, but the sources that I have faith in them. And I know that you read them, Davenport, and if I say anything correctly, I'm sure you'd correct me as well, sir. All right, let's see what else we got here. Whoa, you guys are really flaming today. Bruce says, I've been there. It's north of Big Bend, a nice dark place. I guess that means you can really see the stars at night. I bet it also means you don't have a lot of cellular towers or cellular connection. When our good friend who ran for Congress here, I forgot his name right now, but I'll pick it up sometime. Anyhow, second video of the day. Let's go ahead and talk to Brett Edkins. We're going to talk Supreme Court. Let's go ahead and do that, and then we will return, my brothers and my sisters. Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willies, your host, and today we're here with Brett Edkins, and he is with, and I won't say it, he will.
Stand Up America.
Hey, let me tell you, the reason I wanted to talk to you is I heard you know everything there is to know about the Supreme Court.
Not true, but
it's close enough for government work,
Sure.
that we can say that. Now, this is how I define the Supreme Court. I define the Supreme Court as the only undemocratic branch of government. Okay? Now, I don't think you would have said the same. Explain.
Well, it is virtually undemocratic. The Senate is also not a purely democratic
True.
institution. There are 2 senators from California and 2 from Wyoming.
From Wyoming, yes.
Doesn't make a lot of sense.
Right.
But you're absolutely right. It's purposefully somewhat divorced from
Right.
regular day-to-day politics. That's partly by design, but when the court gets as extreme as it is right now, you start to see the weaknesses of that system.
Well, let me ask you this, because there are rarely anybody who would just come and say, "Oh, it's by design," even though I know that, and I have reasons to believe why it is by design. But you tell me, why is it by design?
Well, judges are supposed to be fair, balanced, uninfluenced by day-to-day politics,
Right.
uninfluenced about whether they need to run for re-election and be popular. They're supposed to be defending the rights of minorities, people who are marginalized, people who need a court
Right.
to give them a fair hearing. That's why justice is blind.
Right.
And that is obviously not exactly what's happening now. We have
Right.
a lot of money and politics feeding into the nomination system, who gets nominated, who becomes a lower court judge, and then who becomes a Supreme Court judge, to the point where we're at now, where the court is as partisan and as divided as ever.
You said that the reason why you have this in effect, paraphrasing you want them to be measured and not worried about re-election and that sort of stuff. Of course, if you're in a state like Texas, we elect our judges from Supreme Court judges all the way down.
Yeah.
And, I guess our Supreme Court now is just as corrupt as the current Supreme Court. So it seems to me like, in effect, neither one work. Whether they vote them in or they're elected in, or they're elected in or they're appointed in, it seems like the results can be the same. So maybe should we vote them in?
Well, I mean,
I'm just
no. Sandra Day O'Connor and other justices have long warned about the dangers of electing judges at a state level.
And
There's
I agree.
a lot of problems with it. There's obviously also a lot of problems with having justices who linger on until they either die or retire at the time that they want. They politically retire when a Republican or a Democrat can appoint their replacement.
Right.
We have RBG, who held on for dear life until she hoped Hillary Clinton would be able to appoint her replacement. That's also a problem. That's why we need term limits at the Supreme Court. We need expansion at the Supreme Court. We need reforms.
You know, I have always been anti-term limits because I believe the people have the right to elect who they elect. But I think that's a good compromise. It's not a compromise. I think it should be a requirement, because if you're appointed and not easily removed from appointment, I think term limits should be that fail-safe method. So and I don't think that's a hard argument to put out there at all.
No, there's long been bipartisan agreement.
There is bipartisan agreement.
There have been Republicans in the past that no currently, because Republicans have an advantage on the court. But in times before, when they didn't have quite the advantage, plenty of Republicans have recognized that term limits make sense. It would bring some stability to the court. Every president would basically get to appoint 2. And they would serve 18-year terms as the common.
Also 18 years?
That's the most common proposal. So that every president gets 2. And you wouldn't have a situation where someone like Obama, who served 8 years, only got 2 justices. And Trump, 4 years,
4 years, 3. Makes absolutely
no sense. And it doesn't reflect the people and what they want.
But you know what is so funny about that you brought that up? We have a president that got elected by the Electoral College, not by popular vote. And he is the one that got to put the most people on the Supreme Court. I mean, it's almost like a double on democracy. Double on democracy. So what are you doing, your organization doing? What's the name of the organization?
Stand Up America.
Stand Up America. What is your organization doing to try to mitigate this? In other words, to try to educate folks that we need to start electing people that are going to get these proposals out in the fold.
Well, we're working really hard right now to tell members of Congress that they need to endorse the Judiciary Act, which is the bill that would add 4 seats to the Supreme Court. And to take it seriously, members of Congress tend to see this proposal as radical, when in fact, Congress has changed the size of the Supreme Court 7 times in our history.
Oh, is it 7? Okay,
7 times, and it's usually in situations like this where the court has become so far out of whack with where the people are that it needs structural reform in order to change. So we're working really hard to build co-sponsorship on the Judiciary Act, build support for term limits, build support for a Supreme Court Code of Ethics, which thankfully this coming week, the Senate Judiciary is going to vote on. And just building momentum for those reforms that used to have bipartisan support, desperately needed now. It may not happen this year, but I think we're slowly building and educating people about the need for reform.
Interestingly, the president has come out and said that he doesn't support that Now, is he just playing not to give the Republicans an issue in 2024?
I think partly, and Joe Biden is a moderate Democrat, and he is the president. He kind of represents and tries to represent where the middle of the country is. But he, like in the voting rights fight, when we tried to pass the For the People Act and the Freedom to Vote Act, Joe Biden came along a little later and realized we need to change the filibuster. He's a senator. He was there a long time. So he liked the filibuster. He thought it worked. And then when he was finally confronted and said, my choice is between democracy and this Jim Crow relic, he chose right. We're not at that deciding point yet on court expansion. We still need members of the Congressional Progressive Caucus.
Yeah, he's going to wait to be led.
I think so. And I think that's the role of organizers, is to convince, to educate, and build a space where more and more politicians recognize court expansion is not a crazy idea. It's actually the only constitutionally protected and tested way to hold the court in check and create a permission structure for Joe Biden and others to say, this is okay, this is what we need to do, our rights are at stake, our rights to free productive health, to voting rights, to a clean environment. All of this is at stake at the court. And if they don't do anything about the court, we can pass all the legislation we want, but we won't be living in the country we deserve.
Well, you know what? I'm going to hold you to that. So I'm going to remind you, I'm going to find you after we win in 2024, after that bill passes, and whether he signs that bill. I'm going to remind you.
Okay. We've got a long road, but we're going to get there. Let
me tell you, give me a closer here. Your thoughts on the Supreme Court. Where are we going from here? Give me a closer.
Well, we had a rough term. The Supreme Court has gotten a lot of credit in the press, but in just this year, they got rid of decades of affirmative action precedent. They opened the door to discrimination against LGBTQ Americans. They narrowly decided not to embrace radical theories of electoral change and voting rights. But this is the court that a year ago struck down Roe v. Wade. They have a lot of cases on deck to expand gun rights and make gun violence even more prevalent in our country, and to roll back environmental protections. The court is an ongoing danger, and the 6-3 supermajority that the conservatives have is an active threat to all of the freedoms that you and I hold dear. So if people want to get involved, I would say go to standupamerica.com, help us out, help us lobby and organize, and tell your members of Congress to get on board with reforming the Supreme Court.
Brett, it's been an honor. Thank you so kindly for being here, and you have a wonderful rest of your conference.
Thanks, enjoy it.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number 1, subscribe to our channel, and number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. All right, we're back, and I have time for one last video. This was this morning on KPFT 90.1 FM when a climate denier called. I want you to listen to this exchange. I think, tell me if you think, as I thought that he listened to, I first listened to him in detail, and I think he listened to what I had to say. But before I do that, I better go ahead and put what my sister here wants me to put on the screen. So here we go for what Bridge MCP wanted me to get onto the screen. I'm about to put it on the screen. Bridge, there you go. There you go. Fin for president. Is that what it is? There we go. All right. I did it, Bridge. All right, let's go to the video, the last video of the day. Here we go. I hope you will enjoy. Come on in, Joe, and then we'll move on.
Hey, good morning. How are y'all?
I'm fine, Joe. Talk to me, my brother.
Oh man, yeah, you're right. Let's not talk about Trump, because that is what the establishment media wants you. That's all they want you to think about. But really, somebody said climate change, and I saw a graph the other day. You know, of course, we're inundated via the establishment media in all its forms with the idea that the world is burning and catching on fire. And this is the hottest year on record. Well, what they're not telling you, and what you can look up on NASA's own website, is that water, moisture, is 30% higher in the atmosphere this year because of a volcano that erupted in the South Pacific and threw just huge clouds, huge volumes of H2O into the atmosphere. And that has made this year a little warmer than normal. There's that, and there's also this graph they'd like to show around of the last 10 or 20,000 years climate. Well, I challenge you to Google and find this graph that you could find if you just Google the last 500,000 years climate. The last 500,000 years of climate. More data, right? Bigger, longer timeline. If you look at it, you'll see that there's some dramatic swoops upward, and then it comes back down, and it goes for a few tens of thousands of years, and then it goes up, and then it trickles down for tens of thousands of years, and it goes up, and it trickles down for tens of thousands of years, and it does that about 12 or 15 times, and then it goes up, and that's where we are right now, right? That's now. And if you look at it in context of the last 500,000 years, well, is that out of line? No. This is a normal pattern that's been going on for 500,000 years, and the data is right in front of you. But, that doesn't sell electric cars, and that doesn't transform the economy and take money from one set of people and give it to another set of oligarchs. So, we're just not going to...
Okay, Joe, Joe, first of all, let me let you know that a lot of what you said is actually correct. All right. Now that I've said that, let me tell you what some of the issues are with climate change. Do you know what gradients are, and the speed in gradients as well, right? You are correct that we do go in cycles. We go in cycles of freezing and warming, etc. But what we have reached is a cycle where humanity exists, because again, we're exist. What has happened for humanity to exist? We have done things like turned all those dead animals from millions of years and dead trees from millions of years. We've turned them into sequestered carbon, which leaves a particular balance in the air that is maintained. Now, it is true that over time, if without man's control, things like the forests and these other things will eventually burn again, throw more carbon in the air, and we'll go through all kinds of cycles again. What we are saying, those of us who not only believe in man-made climate change, notice we're saying man-made climate change, we realize that we are having an impact that speed up or slow down certain things. And the question that I put out there is it in our best interest to continue speeding things up in the cycle where we cannot adjust economics to run with what we are doing to climate? Can we adjust to the severity of these particular events that occur? So, what happens in a lot of times is that when we are arguing these issues, we polarize ourselves and we allow the plutocrats, like, in other words, you are with one set of plutocrats and it might seem like I'm with another set of plutocrats in that I want electrical energy, I want renewable energy. You are probably just fine with fossil fuels because, hey, it's there and it's cheap and we can burn it at will. We shouldn't be in that kind of contention as I see it. We should be what is best.
Alberto.
Yes, sir.
I got my hand up for a second. I want to just interject one thing.
Yes, go ahead.
Equation. You're missing half the equation, okay? And as I drive around the northeast side of Houston, I see that other side of that equation. It's just glaringly simple. It's everywhere you go.
What is the other side, sir?
It's these solar-powered carbon sequestration units that we allow to be destroyed all around us in mass.
What is that?
Right? It's called a tree. It's called a tree.
Yes.
And it's a solar powered carbon sequestration device. But
Joe, let me stop you because I got to go to Gonzalo, but let me stop you. You're right on that again, but let me just tell you, because we did the math, right? The amount of trees that are necessary based on growth rates to cover the amount of additional cars and carbon producing things that we need, we are so far exceeding that. You're correct that is one of the best sequestration forms. Another sequestration form that is becoming carbonic right now is the oceans. The oceans are one of the biggest absorbers of carbon, but carbon plus H2O, what does it create again? Carbonic acid. And what is carbonic acid doing to our animals? Go ahead.
Carbolic acid.
Right. So go ahead. So therefore, what I'm saying, Joe, is the following. We shouldn't be discussing and fighting about this issue as it's a polarization thing. You and I should be sitting down and say how best to convert the economy from doing a net positive and throwing things up into the air that will, in fact, I think we'll all agree, modify climate, and how can we have a smaller imprint to make sure that gradients are smaller. That's all I'm saying, sir. And I think if we can get there and stop the ridiculous fight that the oil companies would like us to have and others would like us to have, we will have them. I don't want to get rid of oil. I mean, we use oil for more than just burning, brother. But, but we have to get in some equitable place. Don't you agree that we have to come somewhere close to that?
I do, and we should also recognize that the place that we're in right now, as far as the data goes, is not that exceptional.
Well, let me stop you there for a second. It's not exceptional. Wait, Joe, listen to me on this one. I need you to understand this one. It's not exceptional over 10,000 years. It is exceptional over 100 years. That's all I'm saying. If you take, and that is what I wish more scientists would just come out and say. We can say this honestly. The problem isn't that this stuff wouldn't occur. If you look at it in the cycle over 10,000 years, hey, I get you, brother. But when we're talking about these changes over short times, that is when engineers talk about we don't want large gradients. We don't want large gradients because bad things occur in large gradients. That's all. So I'm with you that these changes occur over time, and I'm also I'm trying to tell you also that we are in a sweet spot for humanity when we had that amount of carbon sequestration that we no longer have. And I'm saying this change occurs in a small amount of time. So if your fight should be, in my opinion, go ahead and talk about planting the trees. Go ahead and talking about we don't have to go crazy and just cut oil like yesterday, but we have to do things in a manner that says we're going there. And eventually, I think we're going to have some sort of the environmentalists, some of my environmentalist friends going to kill me here, but I think we're going to have some sort of a nuclear carbon sequestration process. In other words, we can't use oil to sequester carbon, but we can use nuclear to sequester. But again, I haven't thought this particular thing out. I'm just saying. Anyway, I got to go to Gonzalo. Give me a quick closer, Joe.
Hey,
Joe?
The quick closer is quit using climate change as a club to just beat everything with.
I don't think. Okay, Joe. I'm sorry. I want you, Joe. I need you to do me a favor. I need you to do me a favor. Instead of looking at climate change, folks that are beating your brow with as a cudgel, let's try to create that kind of a bridge, really, because you are a thinking person, and more so than those folks that just say oil, oil, oil. So you can be a bridge.
Raise it another level. Raise it to another level. These are issues. The issue now is pro-establishment versus anti-establishment.
Now you and I can drink coffee on that because we agree. We can drink coffee on that. Okay?
Yep. Well,
thank you, brother.
Have a good one, guys. See ya.
Peace out. All right. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody. Okay, guys, I want you to notice something with Joe on the line. The idea is I wasn't there to attack Joe. I was there to get Joe to listen where he could, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I think, however that particular interview went, there were the seams in there for him to think. I want you guys I noticed Davenport just said this interview proves that closed-minded crackpots cannot be appeased by telling them they are right about some facts they're quoting out of context. Actually, I kind of differ with you, dear Robert, in that I think I got to him. Okay? I really think, he's going to continue to put what's been placed in his head, right? But there are some cracks that I saw in there. And let me put Rudnin's piece on the screen. I think that's a good graphic, okay? Now, here's where this graphic, we need to give context with what he's saying. What this graphic shows is the exponential increase in CO2, which creates in the short term that exponential change in environment. At the end of the conversation, that is what I tried to get across to the young man. Look at that entire thing for decades that Rudnin has as far as the ups and downs of CO2. This is the difference. This is what they don't tie in when they look at this over 10,000 years. Because over 10,000 years, this graph is going to look a lot different. Even with that spike, if we were to make a change, right? Let me give an example. If we keep that spike in there and we do nothing about climate, climate will do something about itself. We always try to reach a steady state condition. You learn that in science. Bruce can explain that to you. We always try to reach a state of balance. And the state of balance will occur with all the energy having to be expelled through hurricanes and all of that. Hurricanes are just the accumulation of energy to be expelled. But I will do this. I will do this at another time because we're running out of time right now. Rodnin says, Egberto, you won't get any complaints from me about nuclear power. If you compare radioactive output in coal ash and deaths from air pollution from one coal-fired plant over 50-year lifespan, it would exceed all the damage all nuclear power plants have done, including the dozens or so accidents that have resulted. These are the choices we must address. Rodnin, your statement there as an environmentalist proves your maturity, because that's what I'm talking about there. That statement proves your maturity. Thank you for that statement. Anyway, folks, Lee Grant says, we need to pull the plug on China and India. It's not quite that easy. Remember, we built our capitalist economy by throwing most of the carbon that's currently in the air. If we now tell China, you can't do anything to catch up, so therefore you have to cut just like we're cutting, that will be completely unfair. No, we have to do most of the cutting. We got to do most of the cutting. My name is, before I go, I want you to remember to please remember to go sign up for my newsletter. Right now, every morning it shoots out at 5 in the morning with what we're going to talk about on the program. But I'd like for you all, if you have the wherewithal, to please become paid subscribers of the newsletter. We need paid subscribers of the newsletter to help us continue doing what we're doing. And here's the link, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. That is how you can support this project, as well as all the other forms of support that we have. Anyway, my name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out. Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.